Alert, AI advancing, misinformation spreading, brand systems compromised, crisis mode activated. Welcome to Control Alt PR, a podcast hosted by Erick and Amber Krasinski, where PR, marketing, cybersecurity, and tech finally sit at the same table because most problems happen somewhere in the gaps between them. If you're looking for expert advice on how to handle AI and real conversations about its potential, consider this your hard reset.
Welcome back to Control Alt PR, where we really break down those weird intersections between technology and culture and communications and how all those things shape the way that brands are going to show up and sometimes even spiral in public. So, if you haven't checked in already, my name's Amber Krasinski.
And I'm Eric. More than 10 years ago, our guest made a prediction that made traditional publicists, let's say, just deeply uncomfortable. She said that within a decade, public relations, as we knew it, wouldn't exist as a standalone discipline, right? It'd be absorbed into marketing or something, or unless it evolves. Fast forward to 2026, we have AI writing copy, algorithms shaping visibility, AI generate images blurring all reality, which really, and let's not even mention the slop. And executives asking, why do we even need communication teams at all, right?
It's the big elephant in the room in PR, at least from what I've chatted about with all the colleagues. Nobody really knows how to fully activate AI. There's a lot of LinkedIn articles that come through, and who do you actually trust? But our guest today is somebody that I really, really have looked up to for a long time. She's the founder of the Spin Sucks podcast and whole ecosystem, the creator of one of the models for modern PR and marketing, the PESO model. She's an author, an educator, and whether she actually likes it or not, in my opinion, she is the architect of modern communications as we know it. So I know I just gassed you up like crazy, Ginny, but, like, I love your work, and I think what
Yeah.
you have for expertise is so amazing. So, yeah, today we're gonna be chatting through, the framework that has been taught all around the world, the incredible woman that's behind it, and all the different organizations that she has experienced in her career and what we can take away from things going forward when it comes to this weird AI-driven communications world that we're all trying to navigate together. So, Ginny, thank you for being here. This is great.
Amber, we are going to be best friends because that was amazing. I'm just gonna
I
you and I are
did.
gonna
I did everything I
travel
could.
everywhere together.
Yes,
Thank
there
you.
we go. So, for today, I definitely don't want to just harp on the fact that, like, we need to figure out how to use AI to write press releases. I really want us to dig into
Please
it
no.
drives me it right? Ew, it gives me the ick. I'm all set. Like, I'm more than
Enough.
all set. So, like, what does it actually look like to, think about how strategy and trust and visibility are all changing when more and more machines are, controlling distribution? And we're gonna talk through, ideally, how has the peso model shifted over time to help, with some of the operating systems that people need to have when they try to communicate messages and build buzz and tell stories and get the word out there. So, yeah, so that's really what I want to dig into today.
Love that.
What the hell is the peso model? Because anytime I bring it up with people, they're
What
like,
is the
"Is that?"
PESO model?
They're like, "Is this
Exactly.
currency? What is this?" Especially I was talking with somebody in cybersecurity, and they're like, "What does this break down to? Peso?" So yeah, Ginny, let's get some backstory on the amazing model that I have been obsessed with for years and years and years.
That's so funny you say that because when I talked about it in Spin Sucks the book, which I published in 2014, and it didn't at the time have a name or a graphic or a framework or any structure. It was just part of the prose that I was writing. You have content marketing and you have social media and you have search engine marketing and you have all of this stuff that's coming at you at once. And a communicator is like at the time was like, I don't know what to do with all of this. So I was writing about about this process that we were using to sort of figure out how media relations and content and social and search engine marketing all work together. And my publisher came back and said, tell me more about this piece. And I was like, well, we're just kind of testing it out and it's not really fully baked yet. And she's like, let's fully bake it. And so, I mean, it's really credit to her for pushing me on it because then she said, let's name it and, if I were to put it in order of importance for media type for a communicator, I would say owned, earned, shared, and paid. But OS is hard to remember. Like I even have to think about it. So we went round and round and round. And she said, well, what about peso? And I was like, can we call it that since there's a currency? And she said, "Let me do my due diligence." So as Pearson, the publisher, she went out to do the due diligence, and it was fine from a copyright perspective because it's a completely different thing, right? It's not a currency. And so we were able to call it that. And really it's called peso because it's easy to remember, but we almost never start with paid.
Makes so
Oh,
much
shit.
sense, and music to my ears because I know so many folks that they just dive into the paid first, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Guys,
Always.
no,
No.
no,
You have to build
no."
trust first. People are not going to buy if they don't trust you. You have to build the trust
At
first.
the at the end of the day, you can have all these fancy AI things and all this stuff, but if they don't trust you, they're just gonna
Yep,
scroll on or move on or click
that's
away
right.
or whatever that
That's
might
right.
be.
Yeah. Yep.
And you've mentioned recently, I guess it's no longer really a framework or a checklist, but now, like you said, it's like an operating system. I'm a big fan of operating systems, obviously. In the computer world, you have Apple, but,
Our
but
tech nerd.
also as
Yep.
an entrepreneur, you have EOS, right? You have
Yep.
entrepreneurs operating system. So I like that word or analogy moving on to other things other than just technology. First time I ever even heard of Peso was last year, I'll be honest with you. And I was doing my own AI and coming up with our own AI bot for the marketing team. And I wanted to have a way that whatever they were producing, it followed some sort of a framework. And that's how I discovered you. So we have our own
Really?
internal Peso bot that, always adheres to your rules and things that I can,
Amazing.
obviously research yeah, and teach it
That's
from it.
amazing.
So I just
That's amazing. That's awesome. What? That's such a cool story. I gotta use that. That's amazing.
Don't you have one? You should
Yeah,
have one. You should have it on
I
your
do have
website,
one.
right?
I do. I do. I
Oh,
do. I do.
damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 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 We have a free
I
one
gotta
and we have a
compare
paid one. Yeah.
I gotta compare your free one then with mine and see,
Yeah, you should. Yeah. I'll make sure you get a copy of it. Yeah, it's funny you say that from a framework versus operating system because a couple of years ago, somebody in our Slack community said, "Would you call this? What would you call it? Would you call it like a learning, a framework?" And at the time, I was like, "I think it's a framework." And we have evolved and relaunched the PESO model certification this year. So I've been solely heads down into developing new content. So the more time I have spent with it over the last 18 months, I would say, and especially with AI baked in, what I came to discover is that a framework is something that you learn, you research, you learn, you implement it once, and then it just works on its own. An operating system evolves, right? So we started to play with that a little bit to understand, could we embed this as an operating system and then let the tactics evolve with the industry or with your business goals on top of it? And so that's why we made the transition from framework to operating system because it's a living, breathing thing that continues to evolve. It's not something you learn about once and be done with it.
Yeah, no, that makes a
And
lot
I
of
take
sense,
a
and I'm
really,
sure
like, systems level approach when it comes to this too, Jenny, and I think that's why it resonated so well with, what I was working on. Because I didn't grow up in the PR world. I was doing PR for a nonprofit without realizing it. I was like, "I gotta hit up Mary Leach at the Billerica Minuteman because I gotta get butts and seats for programs." And I
Yeah.
learned a couple years later, I watched Scandal, I'm like, "Oh,
Wait,
that's
you watched Scandal.
been dealing
Hey,
with
don't
crisis
knock it. I
communication
love
Were
stuff."
you high?
Scandal.
I love Scandal too. I mean, yes.
Yeah, and I was
I mean,
doing,
it got
like,
it
a
got
little bit of,
crazy,
like,
but,
communications help. Yeah,
Also, I
it
would
got
like to
wild.
have her clothes, but yes.
yes, yes, yeah, I mean,
100%. Oh,
that's the way I just assumed everyone in PR, dressed and
Dresses,
had
yeah.
affairs with the
Mhm.
presidents
It
and
is.
stuff.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happens, yes.
that's the thing is, like, when I first started digging into, well, how can I, like, do things differently and do things, like, more efficiently, and what does it look like to be working with some of these brands and some of these nonprofits that are scrappy, and they don't have a full big team, and I think something like your model and the way you think about it more as, like, an operating system that can adjust and flex, and you can introduce new tools very strategically, that resonated with me much more than we're gonna run a PR campaign and hope for the best and,
Right,
oh,
right, right,
UVM, that
right,
doesn't
right,
fly with me.
right.
I'm like, "I wanna see
No,
the results. What is the
yeah.
point of doing all this?" So, yes, I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more to, like, the newer and I know you've been talking about it for a while, but, like, visibility engineer. When you started talking about visibility engineering, that just light bulb. I'm like, it's that speaks to the idea that you're somebody and a communicator should be somebody that is helping to orchestrate those systems and all those
Yep.
different signals and those different things. So, you know, what does that look like, especially in the age of AI? And, like, where did that whole concept kinda, like, evolve from, and where do you see it going?
I started thinking about this because there was a muckrack study that was released. It was either super early last year, like January, February 2025, or it was November, December 24, but it was a good year ago. And it talked about where they were seeing that LLMs were getting their information. And it showed significantly that the LLMs were crawling your site and scrubbing your content, and then they were comparing that content to what's being surfaced through earned media. So reviews, traditional media, trade media, newsletters, podcasts, all of that. When it was comparing to your website, was it the same? Was it consistent? And if it was, then it was showing your brand in an AI answer. So when somebody says, "Tell me the best PR firm in Chicago," like, you would show up in those answers, right? And so I started to think about that from a communications perspective, and I was like, "That's what we do." So if we can engineer that visibility, why wouldn't we do that, right? And, there's been all this talk in the last couple of months that PR is dead and blah, blah, blah. PR is not dead, right?
Exactly.
Come on. It's evolved just like everything else, and I think if you have not evolved as a communicator, then you're dead, but we have not the industry is not dead, and really, if you think about if you're creating content that demonstrates your expertise and your experience, which we know Google loves, and you're doing media relations, not just with traditional media, but with new media too, your TikTok news anchor, your podcast host. And though the things that are being surfaced in those interviews are the same as the expert thought leadership stuff on your website, you're going to engineer that visibility. You're going to show up in AI answers. That's your job. So if you want to call yourself a visibility engineer, if you want to call yourself a PR professional, if you want to call yourself a communicator, I don't care. But if you do owned and earned media really well, and then you use shared to distribute that and you use paid to amplify it, you're done. It's beautiful.
I love it
Couldn't have
so
said that
much.
better.
It's
Yeah.
so, so good. Yeah, and I mean, so thinking about the traditional, perceptions, I know we just talked about my girl Olivia and all that, but, like, it's always about
I'm
the
Huck, by the way.
relationships
So
and
we joke around all the
we got
time.
the whole
She's
squad. I
Olivia
love it.
normally. Off camera, she's Olivia. I'm Huck.
I love it.
we, we should have them on
Amazing.
this show.
Yeah, you should. Yes, you
That'd be
should.
Kerry
so
Washington
He's
in
fun.
your
on
ear,
he's on Law
Guillermo.
and Order right now, but yeah,
Yeah. I'll
amazing.
have
But
to
yeah,
get
but,
someone
like,
on
you
there.
think about it, all of those things are all about, traditionally it's been relationships and execution, and that's how people perceive, anything that's related to PR. But if AI is now helping to support some of those systems and handling execution at scale, what does that mean for the career ladder, and what does that mean for both folks that are entering into PR and folks that have been here for a minute, you know?
I actually, I mean, this is just human beings, human nature. I think it's easier for somebody who's just entering the field because they don't have any preconceived notions and they've already been introduced to AI in their coursework. So I think it's easier for them than it is than somebody with 10, 15, 20 years of experience because we get set in our ways and we have a certain way of doing things and it's hard. It's hard, right? And usually for human beings, we don't make change unless there's a crisis. Well, there's a crisis coming, and
But yeah.
AI will take your job if you do not evolve. It's not gonna take your job if you do evolve. It's not gonna because you've changed with the times, but there's a crisis coming, so it's you need to be thinking about that and
Yeah.
take
And we've been
full
saying that here
advantage
a
right
lot.
now.
I mean, in a nutshell, we keep hearing it, especially in IT, and it's going to replace jobs, going to replace our jobs. Like, listen,
Sure.
if you
Yeah.
want it to replace your job, then you're allowing it to.
Yeah,
But you need to treat
absolutely.
this as a tool. It's a really complex, amazing tool that could pose dangers. That's a whole different conversation and episode. But it is a tool. Learn how to use it. Up your game. And then move on. We
Yep,
we have to keep on evolving. We've gotten very
yep,
cushy, and this is just
yes.
through something really massive, and there will be people that will lose their jobs without a doubt. But
For
but
sure.
one could also
Yes.
say they probably would have lost it anyway if things just shifted into a different direction. Younger people learned it at college or whatever it might
Yep,
be. You
Yep.
know, like you said, humans, we don't like change often. But I personally think that humans don't like change, but I think many of us excel when we're forced to do it. At least for
Yes.
me anyway. I'm just a nut
Yes.
job, but
Yes.
57 years old, and I'm always trying to find like the next thing that I can just dive myself into. Because that's just the way, But I think it's a
But
good
that's
thing.
why you're an entrepreneur.
You have to be a little bit crazy, I think, to be an where the hell your next paycheck's gonna come from. It's like that.
You have to understand how AI is going to affect your job and what parts of it will replace because it has. I mean, I've been using it since 22 and I'm far more productive. I get far more work done. I no longer procrastinate because I can just drop a prompt into ChatGPT and be like, "I'm stuck. Can you just put something on paper for me?" And then all of a sudden your wheels are going, right? So it it is scary because you hear all the scary reports and you hear the ethical reports and things like that. And Eric, to your point, that's a different conversation for a different podcast episode. But there's so much opportunity, and I think if you understand how you can use it in the work that you do every day, you're going to be able to engineer that. You're going to be able to hold an agency responsible for results, and one of the things that I love is I'm very, very left brain, which is highly unusual for someone in our field. So like you, Amber, I love the metrics and I wanna know exactly how the work that we're doing is affecting business goals. And I can look at a spreadsheet and pick the stories out. I can do that. Then I take that and I put it into my AI and I ask it, where did we do really well? Where did we not do so well? What are the stories we should be telling to the executives based on these goals? And it finds stuff I would never see. So use it for that, if only for that, so that you can demonstrate results in a way that you've never been able to do. So I think there's a big, big opportunity here. But like, again, don't wait for the crisis to hit before you make the change. Make the change now.
Yeah,
So when do you think the
absolutely.
crisis is gonna hit, Jenny? I'm curious about that because 'cause we've all it feels like a tidal wave. When is it gonna hit?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it the tipping point? Are we out
I
there?
think we're close, and everybody keeps talking about the AI bubble that's going to pop, and so it feels close. It feels a lot like the dot-com bubble did, where, people, I mean, had the Super Bowl and all of the commercials were AI driven, all of them. So it's coming. It's coming. I can't tell you if it's next week or in 3 months. I don't know.
Well, Eric, what do you think?
Uh,
You're the tech
I
guy.
think we're
You've been the one
I
all
know,
up in
I
the
know, I
AI
know,
for
I know.
ages.
So, yeah, so we dove in about almost 3 years ago now, and we started writing a lot of stuff in the back end, just getting to know what is, LLMs, what's the difference between an LLM and just very complex automation tools,
Sure.
which in the beginning, I have to say, there was a lot of that. And even to some degree, some AI companies are out there saying they're fully AI, and then later on you keep pushing, pushing, you find out that it's 200, engineers in Mumbai that are answering. Who just did that? I just read it. No, don't laugh. This was something I just read like last night or something that somebody admitted that.
No.
Oh my God, what was this? Oh, wait a minute, that's gonna bother me. Oh, it was somebody. I was like, wow, you don't say. And it was something that they were said, yeah, we admitted it, the engineers handle it, but the AI does some things. And y- yeah, what the hell? Oh, it's gonna bother. I'll come up. I'm not
I
gonna
have to
stay
look it
stuck
up.
on this
Yeah.
because
I'll
yeah,
have to
we'll have to
look it
look
up.
it up. But you mentioned something, you feed it to your chat GPT and just to have an idea generator, on my iPhone, I got my little button over here that guy, that's always ChatGPT. Ever since they went vocal, I drive my team insane because I'll lock myself up in a conference room. I'll be on the whiteboard. I'll start talking to Luna, whatever the hell they call her, and we're just brainstorming for like an hour in there. And can I just tell you, it's amazing. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to go through it. You got to verify it. It's
Sure.
fluff.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
If you thought we fluffed you up in the beginning of this podcast, oh my God, ChatGPT used to be so much worse. I was
That's
ready to
why you
divorce
change
my
the
wife.
tone to
I'm like, I don't
snarky.
need
You
you.
change the tone.
Yes, you got to change the tone to Starkey. Yeah, always verify. Must put verify, right? But curious, have you ever tried using Notebook LM with Google?
I have, yes.
Isn't it amazing? You feed it
It
all that
is.
stuff and you stay
Yes.
contained in that little
Yes.
world so it has
Yes.
less hallucinations about going other
Yep.
places.
Yep.
And I've been trying to get everybody on that. Sorry. But yes, back to the AI thing. Yeah, I think I think we're getting slowly into a plateau area where
Do
I
you?
think AI's changed the game without a doubt.
Sure.
And I think when I say plateau, I don't think plateau for the next 2 years. I mean plateau for the next month because AI is just moving so fast. Like every day or every week, it used to be a new feature that, Gemini had or Claude had, Anthropic or OpenAI, and it keeps moving. I think we're reaching a small plateau of a month. You know, we're
Mm,
gonna see that a little bit. And just like we're seeing, the images, we can already tell what it is. But honestly, there will be a point where you just can't tell. Like we will not be able. It will keep
yeah.
getting better and better and better.
I just read an
Um,
article that said this generation that's being born now, I can't remember what it's called, they will not know a world where you didn't doubt images and videos, which is astonishing. They
yeah,
will
And
always
terrifying. I
question,
did
is this real? Terrifying.
Yes. I was
Yeah.
media literacy, like, that's literally how all this started, Ginny, was, like, I was doing educational services for a TV station, and I just went down the rabbit hole of media literacy and, like, here's what we can do, like, here's how you can vet sources. All of my curriculum end of last year, I went back and I was looking at it, I'm like, "I would never be able to use any of this going forward." Oh
That's
my
crazy.
gosh.
That's crazy.
you use
That's
everything though. I mean,
crazy.
listen. At 57 years old, I worked for hedge funds. I worked for Apple. I've been on the road with the Ramones. I worked in CBGBs at the old Ritz. Like I've been everywhere, and I've even did some nefarious stuff once when I was in college, but I gotta say, everything combined, you use everything. They make you, they make Ginny, they make Amber, they
Yeah,
all your
sure.
experiences. We all can go to college for the same thing, but it's ultimately all our combined experiences that really, make us who we are, right? And we just bring that to the table to where we are today.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. So, thinking about this, like, the funkiness of the human premium versus, like, AI-driven environments. I actually had some pretty aggressive pushback from, it was a fintech company recently. "Oh, AI can generate the content, it can figure out the journalists, it can pitch, it can do all the outcomes. Why do we need
Okay,
a comms team?"
sure. Do it.
What do we say to
Good luck.
people like that?
Good luck.
That's what I
That's what you
that's what I
say.
Go
said to
ahead.
him.
Good luck. Be my guest. Not a good client for us. Great.
No. Nope.
But
Because they won't
that happens.
know. They won't know
They
if
don't
it's
know
good
what
or
they don't
not.
know.
Right.
I
Yes.
mean, it's been said for so long. They don't know what they don't know, and that's usually when that human touch really is necessary and probably more obvious after the outcome, right? After the output has been by them, which is what we call now slop. AI slop is all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
The CEO to the company, I don't need to pay for PR. I don't need to pay for marketing. I could just go chat
Right.
GPT. And all of a sudden it goes on there and 15 weeks later, you're wondering, I haven't gotten one call. I haven't gotten one thing. I haven't got yeah, it's because everyone
Yes.
realizes you're using AI and not
Yeah.
even very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't know what questions to ask it. You don't know how to appropriate prompt it. You don't know if it's giving you anything that's good or usable. Like you still have to have somebody who knows what they're doing.
Unless you have the paid model of Peso from your website that they're using to come up with their stuff.
You still have to have somebody. Like it's
It's
still,
still there, yeah.
yeah. You have to make sure the
Even
inputs are
still.
good. And people will say to me, "Oh, AI doesn't work," and I'm like, "It's user error because you're not giving it the right inputs."
Yep.
But
I
I
be
think
mean,
my
it's
listen,
guest.
so
Good luck.
accurate.
all the verticals we've discussed here with different guests, it all boils down to your prompting. You really have to
Yep.
know what you're telling. AI is
Yes.
just it's a really smart computer, but it's just gonna babble and give you
Yep.
word salad and
Yep.
sound like, a sounds just I was gonna say something political, I'm not gonna say it. It's just gonna it's just you don't want that word salad in
You
there.
can with this
Uh
audience.
Exactly,
well,
and it's coming up with
yeah.
all these variations of, like, a certain narrative. I think that's the problem is, like, if you
Yeah.
don't have the training or understanding of how to vet between, okay, this story, even though AI came up with all these different ideas, what are the ones that are actually gonna hit? Because there's definitely been times where it'll tell me, even if I prompt it properly, "This will be perfect for a headline." I'm like, "No, no,
That's
it's not."
terrible. Yes.
That's terrible,
Yes.
it's trash.
Yes.
So if we think of AI as like this kinda spin multiplier where it's just constantly cranking things out, what does that do to trust and like where do you think the line is with all this, Jenny? Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm running into.
it's funny. I just a couple of weeks ago published an article on LinkedIn about how AI comments on LinkedIn are out of control. And listen, we know that you've done this.
Oh
We
my
we
God.
can tell. We can tell
Yeah.
you used AI to summarize the article and write your comments because it's
And
really
dash.
bad. Well, I use the M dash. I've also always used the M
I
dash.
don't anymore. I don't. I
So
stopped.
but I do. Every time I type it out, I'm like, do I really need that M dash there? Because I actually wrote this. I don't want
I
people to
replaced it
know.
with dot, dot, dot.
I love it. But we can
Which I
tell.
use
We know.
which I use AI later to just replace all M dashes with dot, 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 and
So
misspell a
then
word. Always misspell one thing in your entire paragraph, so just misspell it.
so what does
That's
it
a
do to
free tip
trust
for you.
though?
But that's
But
the thing.
that's the
Like,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it the people, and there are like 3 people who do that constantly on my content, and I can tell you right now, if they ever applied for a job with us, they would not get the job. They would not get an interview because I know that that's what you're doing. And so you have already developed that relationship with me that I know I can't trust you.
Exactly. Exactly. So then what does it look like to use AI to engineer more clarity instead of spinning out a bunch of slop or nonsense because you're trying to be more productive? Like, what does that look like?
It's not a final draft what it gives you. It's a great way to start. It's a great way to get something on paper. It's a great way to start thinking. Like last year, probably mid-year, one of the executives at our one of our largest clients said to me personally, "I really want to understand the PESO maturity process. Like, where are we in the process?" And I said, "Well, I can tell you exactly where you are. Like, we can have that conversation." And he's like, "I need a slide that shows me level 1 is this, level 5 is this." And I was like, "Huh." And it was a challenge I hadn't thought about yet, and I wasn't sure how to start. And so I just started prompting AI to help me with it. Now, what it gave me at the start was not usable. But it got me thinking, okay, if level 1 is this and level 5 is this, what are the steps in between? And how do we right? So it's
Thing.
not
Yeah.
something final. It's something that helps you start to think through and start to understand, but you still have to, as the human, you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know strategically what you're trying to achieve. You have to know what the output is. And you have to know how you can use that information to continue to build trust without violating that.
Exactly. Ah, see, I love that. And I was just talking with somebody over the weekend. He owns like a software, engineering firm. And one of the things that he mentioned was the trust recession. The more that we use
Yeah.
AI and we don't
Yeah.
use it with intention, it just
Yeah.
degrades all the rest of the trust and it has such a
Yeah.
downstream impact. So yeah, I love that approach. I absolutely love that approach. I know I gas you up all the
It's
time,
not
but
the
like
final.
I mean it. It's not the final. It's not the final.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, no,
It's
and
like
it's
the
not the
equivalent of,
final,
like, when I do video, it's like, we'll fix it in post." It's like, well, no, don't try and fix it later. Try to get, like, a solid
Yeah.
understanding of what you need
Yeah.
now and then make
Yeah.
some tweaks, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sit on on the board of education for our town, and as an AI advocate, I'm always explaining there's always going to be teachers that say, "Oh, we don't want to allow any AI." I'm like, no, that's actually the worst approach you can possibly take. What I would say is, especially as AI is evolving on a week by week basis, is why don't you just grade them on the use of AI? So you're going to
Yeah.
expect it.
Yep.
Just you,
Yep.
they're going to use it. The
Yep.
question is, how are they using it? And to the point of where it's helping them drive that human conversation or that human element or whatever it might be, and just bringing that into, like, for instance, the whole peso model. Like, how do how does following the peso model or an evolved peso model, help against weaponizing AI, right? Or is it just, or how do we frame the peso model where it becomes the strategy, and how do you mix the AI side into that,
Mhm.
into
Mhm.
your evolving
Mhm.
of your own framework? And maybe we'll clue in here with something different. Maybe you never, you're going to tell us some secrets here.
Well, I think part of it too is like, how does it there's all these bad actors in AI. Like, how can PESO
Yeah.
help with that? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Well, it's really I mean, it goes back to what we've been discussing this whole time, which is we know that Google has their eat, right? Experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And Google has not gone away. Like we get the AI summaries at the top, but people still Google things. I think we're probably the exception to the rule where we like most likely go to AI first, right? We've got it on our phones where we just go there, but we're the exception to the rule. We're not the majority. Most people still use Google. There are lots of people who are slow adopters. It's like social media. I remember, as a complete side note, when I started speaking many many years ago, I one of the things that I did is talked about social media to CEO groups, and I remember this was probably 2012, 2011, somewhere in there. I would have CEOs pull me aside during a break and say, "This is never going to hit our business. It's nice that you're speaking about this, but it's just for the kids." And I remember saying, "Okay, you'll see." Right? That's where I think we are with AI. If you use Peso, one of the things that we teach through the scientific system is you have to develop your expertise and your experience first. And that is one of the very first things that you work on through the certification is what is that? What are your subject matter experts on? What can they speak to? What can your leadership team speak to? What is the real thought leadership that you have? And then how do you build the foundation based around that so that you continue to build trust and use AI to help accelerate?
I love that. I love that so much. So what do we do if there's and we'll kinda get into my favorite segment. Um, what if, like, there's, like, there's a PR pro that's, like, using AI and they think that they're evolving and growing, and it really turns out to be, like, a really crappy company or something like that, and they're trying to build their expertise, and maybe they're learning the inaccurate information, but they don't know, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm very skeptical of AI in a lot of ways, and it just comes from my media literacy background. I'm like, "Well, what's behind the scenes here?" You know? So what does that look like?
Do you think that the PR pro through this process is understanding that the company is bad or that the information out there is bad or what like tell me more.
Yeah, I would say, well, both would be my favorite, but like they see that the company itself with the tool that they're using is bad and maybe the information they're getting is inaccurate. What is it how can a PR pro protect themselves and the brand around some of those, trickier situations?
I think that one of the things that we as communicators are going to have to do pretty effectively, pretty fast is figure out where that misinformation is, where that inaccurate information is, and fix it. And one of the things that I talked about a lot last year through the visibility engineering content that I was creating is we have to be searching on AI for our brands and our competitors' brands at the same time to understand what's being surfaced because a lot of times it's either hallucinating or it's using outdated information. And if it's using outdated
Yes.
information,
Yes.
where is it getting that? Because it's probably on your website. So your job is to go fix that. So I think there is a huge opportunity there. It's a little bit of busy work, but it's an opportunity to fix that inconsistent messaging so that a potential customer doesn't find it and go, well, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. And then we've eroded trust with them.
You already know that many, even Microsoft, whatever big companies will come up and some websites either old or a link just went to, dead and
Yeah,
there's nothing
sure.
there, which also
Yeah,
affects,
sure.
going back to again with the Google, like where do you searching stuff? We have actually worked a lot on our website. So we start coming up ranking in Claude in OpenAI. So when I look at those metrics in the morning, because I'm also a data geek, I love seeing it that, hey, Anthropic to use your website as a source for like X amount of like times today. I'm like, hey,
Amazing.
that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
really happy about that?
Yes. I'd be happy
Uh,
about that too. Yes.
and you get that little sense of like I did something right for a change. Where normally you do SEO, you have no idea what you're doing because Google just changes it every day.
Right.
The
Yes.
rules. At least
Yeah.
for now, those AI generative, SEO. For now, the rules seem to be kind of this is what it is, right? If you want to rank, you want to make sure that all your information is updated on your website because you don't want to give them bad information. Plus, that's going to ding you for sure. Also, if you have a bot on
Yeah.
your website, like it's pulling information from your website as well to be able to answer things. So it definitely would behoove you
Right.
to keep all your
Right.
stuff updated.
Fresh.
this is where this is where the IT and the tech team needs to actually be talking to the communications and marketing squad. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
a lot of that
Yes.
doesn't happen unless it's like we got to make we want to put up a blog post or oh, we need to do a website refresh for this campaign or whatever. There's not a consistent set of communications and connection
Yeah.
happening between these two very important departments and I think that there needs to be more overlap there.
That's usually my toughest
Yeah.
job. Everyone says, well, of course you're going to say that. You're IT. I'm like, yes, no, I'm not just a cost
Right.
center. Like, really, we need to talk. Like, every department head, no matter which
Yes.
it is, you need to talk to IT. You need to bring them to the table so they can vet what you're thinking. They can say, hey, that's not possible. Or that's thinking out of the box. Let me work on it, or whatever it may be. But usually in my position, I get called in at phase 4. And then I
Of
come in as the
course.
bad guy saying, oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
not going to work. That's not going to work. You have to change that. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you're IT.
Yeah.
No wonder. I'm like, if you had brought me in phase 1, maybe this would have
We
looked
could
very
have
differently
figured out a way.
and saved money and time, but,
Yes. It's the plight of
Exactly.
the PR pro
So
as well.
honestly, yes. Ugh, and that's a good moment here because, we have a segment called the "uh-oh" scenarios. I used to call it the "oh shit" moments, but that didn't play as well. So
Chris,
the
I like
"uh-oh"
the "oh shit" one.
scenarios.
She keeps changing it. I like the "oh shit" moment because we're
She
not on
keeps
Once a
ABC, we're
former
not on
changing it.
teacher,
NBC,
always a
we're
former teacher.
She's
I sit on the board of the education of my town. I'm okay with it.
Come on, come on. We
But
gotta
now
roll
that's
with
gonna
it.
age us too. Uh-oh,
Oh, yeah,
SpaghettiOs. I'm not
right.
too sure about that one. I mean, let's just talk about Netscape here and how the World Wide Web and half the companies are no longer around because they thought that was something was just not going to make it. Okay. They were wrong.
So, the segment basically is I give you a crisis comms scenario that has to
Okay.
relate to AI and PR,
All right.
and you basically have to, explain what your thoughts are on it and what you would do in the first 48. So, we've been talking a lot about AI
No
and using
pressure.
tools to streamline. I know there's no real wrong. It's just scenario planning, Jenny. It's my favorite thing to do. So there's a brand that has some sort of like fast moving issue. It's not anything catastrophic, but there's a little bit of concern and some reputational risk. So the comms team said, all right, let's nip it in the bud. Let's use an AI tool to help draft a holding statement for right now. And it's technically correct, it's neutral, it aligns with messaging, leadership approves it. It goes out and it completely lands wrong. It's cold, it mirrors language that's used by other brands. The comms team didn't catch it. All these audiences start talking about how it's corporate AI speak. And then a journalist picks it up and starts talking about the implications of leadership leaning too much on AI. And suddenly that small thing becomes really, really big. And you have all these teams in the background that are all fighting with each other because humans approved it, but AI did it. Who's at fault? The whole crisis really surrounds the idea that, like, if AI is drafting that first response in a moment that really requires nuance and judgment and empathy and clarity, who is speaking for the organization and who is at fault with this? So that's your
Uh,
uh oh scenario. What would you do and what are your thoughts on it?
well, it's always tough when the comms team becomes the story because you never want to do that ever. So that's a problem. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those situations where you just have to fall on your sword and be like, you know what, we didn't do this correctly. We're sorry, and then release the correct information, but in your normal voice, and you will have a reputation hit for sure. But I think that's one of those situations where you just have to say, we screwed this up. We're
So it
human
hasn't
beings.
changed. I mean,
No,
I mean, it
Yeah,
hasn't changed.
screwed
exactly.
it
It
up.
really is about fessing up. That's always been the case. Like I'm always saying, like you did wrong. Like fess up and move on.
Right,
Like you're
right.
making it worse
You're making it worse.
by
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the question becomes, though, if we're using these tools and it technically, from that standpoint, hits all those markers and everything, the team said, okay, I think it's good. Leadership says, okay, it's good. And for whatever reason, it falls flat. That's terrifying for a comms pro that's just starting to get more comfortable using AI as a drafting and a tool,
Yeah,
right?
but I
So,
mean, it goes back
what do
to
we
what we
do?
were saying. Like, it's not your final
Yeah.
draft.
Fair.
You still have to add your expertise into that. And in a holding statement, I would hope
Yeah.
that an intern is never writing that. And or somebody with only
Oh,
5 years of experience should not be writing that. So if you're not going to give it to somebody without any experience, you should not give it to AI. It can absolutely help you draft the first draft, so you have something to work from, but you have to use your expertise to make that better, and if you didn't, you just became the story, and that is definitely what you don't wanna have happen.
great advice.
Music
Perfect.
music to my
You
ears,
handled
Jenny.
that like a
Yes.
pro.
Crisis comms
I'm
is one of my niche interests, and that was kinda how I started
mm,
getting into, like,
love it.
earned media more traditionally. I was like, how do we make sure that people cover their asses a little bit more efficiently? I'm interested in that, you
We
know?
can't say
So,
shit, but we can say ass.
Yeah,
there we
seriously,
go.
that's where you draw the line, huh, Amber? All right, all
There's
right.
nuance to it. There's nuance to it, Eric. But anyways. Ugh.
Our next section, just like our oh shit moment is Amber's. This next one is what we call, I guess, the pass it or pass it on, pass it forward, and it's a little homage to James Lipton, which I'm a big fan of. So each guest answers a question left by either a previous guest or our audience, or something combination of both. No context, no setup. Nobody knows who the next guest is. It's just left it on there, right? So, are you ready for your question?
Yes.
Okay. If you weren't allowed to do what you do today, what do you think you'd be doing anyway? Like, if you weren't being amazing and didn't have peso, like, what would you be doing?
Contract negotiations for sports athletes.
I did not expect that answer, and I am
No, that's
fascinated.
not, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, why?
I have no idea. I just
Oh,
that's
just said it out. Just
no,
blurt it
like
out. Okay,
I've
okay,
always
all right.
wanted to do it. That was like what I was going to do. And I took a different path. But that yeah,
No shit.
that's what I would have did. Yeah.
So did you take some legal?
Yeah, I was
I
going
guess
to go
that's,
to
yeah,
law
yeah.
school. I did not go to law school because that's what I wanted to do. And my mom got sick my senior year in college. So I was like, I'm going to take a year off and help her, and then I'll go to law school. And I did not go back to school.
Yeah.
I just got started
Something similar
working
to
and
me.
loved it. And
Yeah.
My dad got sick when I was in college as well, and, just didn't go back that direction, but
yeah,
I could feel it, yeah, definitely. So
that's
thank
what
you.
I would do.
That was a good answer. That was a lot quicker than our other guest, Amber. What do you think? Everyone else is usually stumped
I
for a
was
while.
gonna say, yeah, they're like, "I guess I would be out hiking?" Like, people get really
Yeah,
thrown
yeah,
by it. Like, we've asked this, like, with one other person before, and they really got thrown for a loop, but contract negotiations for athlete okay, okay. Huh,
and what
that's
would
cool.
it look like? Just
I
like
almost did a
if
law school yeah, that's what I was wondering too. What does it actually look like to do that day to day? Real quick, and then we'll wrap.
Think it's probably like in my head, and I don't know if this is how it works, but in my head, I work for one of the big agent firms, and that's what I do is negotiate their contracts.
So cool.
it's
Well,
it's
as
as
the New
simple as that.
Englander in the crew, like, the Pats, they Lord knows they could use your help.
And it's a good team. They will be fine in the next couple of years. They got all the way to the
Everything will be
Super
good.
Bowl.
But how was Bad Bunny?
Brad Bunny was so good. That was
Wicked good.
like everything. The production value, the colors,
Yes,
the
yes.
people, the message. He nailed it. I mean, you see some halftime shows that the sound is off and it's just not produced well. It
Yeah.
was
Or
impeccable.
wardrobe malfunctions.
Right? There's that.
If you're old enough to remember those things.
I am.
Or hair's on fire,
Correct.
you know,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I thought it was absolutely wonderful.
It
And
was
I thought,
so good.
it's funny you mentioned the message was so spot on. And yet when you look at the comments, whether they're AI bots or real, everyone's like, I don't get the message, or, it was all about not being America. Or I'm like, why there's so many flags, or, like, oh my God.
My gosh.
It's like,
Really?
Yeah, missed it.
yeah.
Yeah. Ah,
There was a Fox News
so
commentator that just said something about that, but it was like, you seriously?
Yeah.
We're America. We're a melting pot. We're from
Right.
everywhere.
Yes. Uh-huh.
exactly. Exactly. So, Ginny, so what would be the question that you would like to leave the next guest?
Oh, I would like to ask the next guest if they were to write the great American novel, what would it be about?
Ooh.
That's a good one. I like that
That's a
one.
good one
That's
and,
good.
and could be a contentious one.
All right. Well, to wrap things up, the TLDR of all of this, the too long didn't read version, is that technology can scale your messages, but without the right systems and approach, it's not going to go too far and you still need that human judgment. And I think, Ginny, I've been looking forward to this interview for so long. I just thank you for the work that you do. You are doing the Lord's work in our field and beyond. Until next time, thank you for joining us on Control Alt PR, and we'll see you on the flip side, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Control Alt PR podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and controlaltpr.com. For more hot takes and resources, check out our LinkedIn and Instagram. See you next time.